first, I really wanted to show you guys my healthy oatmeal recipe. This is what I eat for breakfast a lot around the holiday season. It just feels so festive to me. And all of these recipes are gluten, dairy, and refined sugar free. So just in case you have any issues with any of those, then you don't have to worry about it. To start, I like to make my basic oatmeal recipe, just classic cooked oats, about half a cup of rolled oats with 1.5 cups of water in a pot, bring it to a boil on the stove and then let it simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes. And when the oatmeal is ready, I start adding the rest of the ingredients, and these ingredients are what make it feel all Christmassy. First, I start with 1 teaspoon of coconut oil, like I usually do to make my oatmeal creamy and to add healthy fats, and some cinnamon. I usually add more cinnamon around the festive season, about half a teaspoon. And if I have some vanilla powder or vanilla extract, then I'll just add a bit of that in as well. And after mixing that in, I like to add some pure maple syrup to sweeten it a bit. I just add about a teaspoon and a pinch of sea salt to enhance all of the flavors. And then about 1/8 of a cup to a quarter cup of dried cranberries, and then some chopped nuts. I'm using raw pecan nuts, and then also some raw almonds that I've chopped up. I've done about 1/8 of a cup of both. You can just do about a tablespoon of both if you like. And also some coconut flakes, which I don't always add, but sometimes I do. We're going all out today. I've done about 2 tablespoons of the coconut flakes. And on top today, I'm adding about a heaped tablespoon of cashew nut butter. You can do any unsweetened nut butter. They'll pretty much all be good. And that is my favorite festive porridge. It's delicious, it's cozy, perfect for the holiday season, and it's pretty easy to make. The next recipe that I'll be sharing with you is a side dish. These are my healthy roasted potatoes. This is a very simple recipe, easy to make, and it can be paired with a lot of different main dishes, and that's why I love it a lot. But it's a bit more festive than regular roasted potatoes. So I've got my ingredients ready. I've washed and quartered some potatoes, just regular brown potatoes. You can peel them first if you want to, or you can just leave the peel on. I've used about 1.5 kilograms of medium-sized potatoes. Just for reference, you can do however many you like. I'm placing those onto a baking tray and spreading them out, and I'm drizzling about 2 tablespoons of white balsamic vinegar over them. This adds great flavor to the potatoes, as well as 1 to 2 teaspoons of onion powder, some sea salt, some black pepper, and 1 teaspoon of cooking oil. I'm using macadamia nut oil, but you can use any other oil you'd prefer. Mix that all together. I've peeled and quartered 2 purple onions, and I'm adding them to the tray. I just like to break them up a little bit so that some of them get crispier. And I've cut up some mushrooms as well. I've used about 250 grams of portobello mushrooms. You can also use button mushrooms, and I'm adding that to the mix. I'm also using some fresh thyme for a bit of festive flavor, as well as some fresh rosemary. My mom has always cooked with fresh thyme and fresh rosemary around the holidays, so that's what I like to do. And I'm using about 5 grams of each one if you want to get real specific. But you can also use dried versions of those as well, or you can just use something like Italian herb mix. A little sprinkle on top of that will be really good as well. And place that into an oven that you've preheated to about 180 degrees Celsius or about 360 degrees Fahrenheit for 40 to 60 minutes, or until the potatoes are soft on the inside and a little bit crispy on the outside, or even longer if you want to get them super crispy. Then you can do like 90 minutes or so. I like to remove the big pieces of rosemary and thyme after I've roasted them, because the flavor goes into the potatoes, and so it's not very nice eating like a big piece of rosemary, you know. And I'm just adding the roasted potatoes into a serving dish. And if you're going to serve this for guests of the holidays, it can look really pretty to garnish it with a little bit of fresh rosemary or even some fresh thyme. Just adds a little bit of color, makes it look nice. And I'm just serving some on a little side plate for myself to do a quick taste test. The chef always deserves that. And that is my healthy holiday roasted potato recipe. It feels quite festive to me using the rosemary and the thyme, and you can have it with whatever main course you'd prefer. I usually serve this with roast chicken, as well as the next side dish that I'm about to show you. The next recipe is my sweet and spicy holiday vegetable recipe. Full of flavor, really healthy, and a great way to serve vegetables during the holidays. This is one of my favorite Christmassy vegetable recipes. So I've got all of my ingredients prepped again so that I can show you quickly, but this is really quite easy to make. First, to my pan, I'm adding 1 teaspoon of cooking oil. I'm using macadamia again. You can use whatever you want, with some chopped up onion. I've used about 1 onion. I like to saute the onions over medium to high heat until they're starting to look all caramelized. This adds really good flavor to the recipe when you caramelize the onions first. Then I'm adding some half Brussels sprouts to the pan, about 200 grams of that, as well as some green beans, about 200 grams as well, which I've just cut the little ends off of before I've added them in. And I'll cook those on the stove over a medium heat until the vegetables are pretty much cooked and the Brussels sprouts are starting to look a little bit brown. And then I'm adding some washed and roughly chopped kale, about 2 big handfuls or so, and I'll just keep cooking that the same way until the kale gets nice and soft. And in the meantime, I'm going to start making the sauce, this is what's going to give the dish some amazing Christmassy festive flavor. I've got 2 tablespoons of pure maple syrup in a bowl, and to that I'm adding about 1 teaspoon of mustard powder, about half to 1 teaspoon of ginger powder, mix it up a bit, and then some black pepper, some sea salt, and some fresh lemon juice. I'm using the juice from about half a lemon, and then also some onion powder. You can add about half to 1 teaspoon or so, and just mix the sauce up, and you can add it to the cooked vegetables and toss the vegetables in it and just get the good flavor over everything. Now I'm using some pecan nuts. I'm going to get them a little bit toasty on the stove quickly. I'm adding about half a teaspoon of cooking oil to a pan with about 50 grams of raw pecan nuts, which is about half a cup, and a little pinch of sea salt as well. Just toss them around on the stove for a few minutes until they start to get a little bit toasty. Trust me, this is amazing. Once everything's ready, I'm adding the vegetables to a serving dish and topping them with the toasted pecan nuts. And I'm doing a little taste test, obviously, and they're amazing. This recipe is really easy to make, it's so full of flavor, and it's the perfect side dish for a holiday meal, one of my classic favorites. Okay, I saved the best recipe for last. This is my healthy sticky toffee pudding recipe, which is my favorite holiday dessert to have at Christmas time, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Okay, so to start, I've got some fresh medjool dates, about 250 grams. I'm just putting them and also removing the little hard bit at the top, and I'm adding them to a bowl with 1.5 cups of boiling water, and then leaving them to soak for about 10 to 15 minutes. I've measured out 2/3 of a cup of coconut oil into a small bowl, and I've had that small bowl in a larger bowl filled with hot water for a few minutes. This is a really easy way to melt the coconut oil. Just make sure that you don't burn your hands, obviously, or get water into the small bowl with the coconut oil. Now to a mixing bowl, I'm adding 2 cups of oat flour with 1 cup of coconut sugar. You can add a teaspoon of vanilla powder if you want to, or vanilla extract if you like. About half a teaspoon of cinnamon, a little pinch of sea salt, and also 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Mix all of those dry ingredients together until they're well mixed, and then put them aside for a moment. So after the dates have been soaking for about 15 minutes, pour the dates with the water into a blender. That's why I specifically said 1.5 cups of water. And after blending it, it will have formed a date kind of batter. Then I'm cracking 2 eggs into a separate bowl, and I'm just whisking them with a fork quickly until they're well blended. I'm adding the 2/3 of a cup of melted coconut oil to the bowl as well. And then I'm also adding the blended date mixture. I'm mixing all of that up until it's well blended, and then I'm taking the bowl with the dry ingredients again, and I'm adding all of the wet ingredients together with the dry ingredients, and just mix that all up until it's really well blended. And then we're going to pour all of the batter into a baking dish. You can smooth out the top of the batter with the back of a spoon and bake it in an oven that you've preheated to about 180 degrees Celsius or about 360 degrees Fahrenheit for about 35 to 45 minutes. I usually do about 40 minutes. You'll know it's ready when you can pierce it with a sharp knife and the knife comes out clean. Okay, now for the sticky toffee topping. In a bowl, I'm mixing half a cup of unsweetened cashew nut butter. You can also use another nut butter like hazelnut, macadamia, or even almond butter with 6 tablespoons of pure maple syrup. Just mix that all up. A little pinch of vanilla if you want. Definitely add some cinnamon, a little pinch of sea salt, and just mix it all together, get it nice and smooth. And when the pudding part of the sticky toffee pudding is ready and looking nice and golden and on top, then you can add the sticky toffee topping on top and spread it out. You can just use the back of a spoon, get it all smooth, and then you can dive right in and slice it up, which is the best part. This smells like heaven, I swear. It's just amazing. Serve yourself a nice big slice. Top it with some healthy coconut cream if you want to. Definitely do a taste test. And oh my gosh, it's just everything I need it to be and more, honestly. This is my favorite dessert. Sometimes I like to serve my sticky toffee pudding with some healthy coconut cream or just have it as it is. I will put the recipe for the dairy-free coconut cream on my blog for you. You can serve the sticky toffee pudding fresh out of the oven or at room temperature a bit later. They're both really good. And this is hands down my favorite healthy holiday dessert recipe, what I like to enjoy around the holiday season as a healthier dessert. And it's really not too difficult to make. It's so yummy, it's also nutritious, it's less processed than most dessert recipes, and I'm also going to be posting all of these recipes over on my blog for you. There'll be a link to that in the description box below for you, so you can go check them out there.